Hey folks, it's Mark Granata, back once again, your favorite realtor for remarkable results, with an episode I call 11 Inspector Traps. So if you're a homeowner that's considering putting your property in the market, these are the top 11 things that undergo intense scrutiny by inspectors. So let's get at it. Number 1, plumbing. Defective plumbing. The inspector will look at a couple of categories when it comes to the quality of plumbing in your property. One of them is leaking, so it would be a good idea to look around your house for water droplets, beads of water in the exposed piping that you have access to visually, and see if there's any water droplets coming out, or soggy drywall or cabinetry that is bubbling or anything like that. That could indicate that there is a leak, and you might want to fix that before putting your property on the market. Also, he's going to look at clogging. So if there is inadequate water pressure in certain bathrooms, so he'll typically go to the highest bathroom in your property, turn on all the faucets, flush the toilet, and see if the water pressure is adequate. For example, filling up a tub in a time that is normal for a tub to be filled up. Also, he's going to look at the color of the water. If it is rusty or brown, that could indicate that some pipes in your system are rusted and need to be replaced or repaired. So these are some of the things that an inspector will look at as far as the plumbing in your property. Number 2, a damp or wet basement. The inspector will typically look for a powdery white mineral deposit on the walls just above the floor level. This could indicate a water infiltration or some sort of a flood at one point. It could be existing, could be 30 years ago, but the inspector will look for that type of phenomena. Also, he will look at if you are comfortable storing things right on the floor. If you kind of keep everything on shelves and don't let anything touch the floor, it could be an indication that you yourself don't trust water seeping into any of your personal belongings. The inspector will also look for a smell of mildew or mold in the air. That musty smell is almost impossible to hide, so he will be conscious of that as well. So take a look at your foundation, make sure that there's no cracks or things that need to be repaired in your foundation that could result in water infiltration. So what do you do when you find any cracks or water infiltration in your basement? Well, there's a couple of solutions depending on the severity of the problem. It could run up to $1,000 to $200 to $1,000 to hire a company to inject your foundation with some sort of a sealant to prevent a crack from letting water in. Also, you can add a sump pump, which could range between $750 to $1,000. This would evacuate any water that is underneath the foundation that could cause a leak into your basement. And also, for some really severe problems, you can do a complete waterproofing of a basement. For an average 3-bedroom home, this could cost you between $5,000 and upwards of $15,000 or more, depending on how many cracks have to be completely waterproof. So you have to figure these calculations versus the your willingness to negotiate the price of your home and see how much you want to repair these things. Definitely the most generous buyer will negotiate against you for these types of problems because they are regarded by the general public as severe. Number 3, inadequate wiring or circuitry. So the inspector will look at your electrical panel and make sure that you have at least 100 amps of service and that it's clearly marked. As well, he'll look for inferior or obsolete wiring, like knob and tube wiring that you see in the century-old homes. Also, he'll look for aluminum wiring, which was popular in the 70s, but there are solutions for for that. So your wiring should be mostly copper. He'll also look at octopus plugs, which also could represent a fire hazard or inadequate wiring for the property. Poor heating and cooling systems. So inefficient insulation is actually the #1 culprit for high energy bills. So make sure that your insulation is up to par. As far as your heating system is concerned, an adequately cleaned, rust-free furnace could last a very long lifespan. However, the inspector will verify if the furnace is over the 25 year age and warned the buyer that it may be time to change the furnace if it is over that limit. Also, you want to verify if the heat exchanger, if it's a gas forced air furnace, if the heat exchanger is leaking. This could cause a poison carbon monoxide poisoning, or also it could represent a possible explosion. So these things cannot be repaired, they have to be replaced. So look into the mechanics of your furnace and make sure that the inspector won't raise any red flags when looking in your mechanical room. Number 5, roofing problems. So water infiltration through the roof can be caused by a number of problems. Most of the time it's deteriorating asphalt shingles, but it also could be a mechanical problem from damage of a windstorm. Also, another factor could be poorly installed gutters or downspouts that let water come into the roof, and these can cause severe damage to the interior of your property as well. So you might want to look at your roof cavity and see if there's any potential leaks in there before the inspector catches it. Number 6, damp or hot attic spaces. So aside from basement dampness, dampness in the attic can cause a severe damage to the roof or premature deterioration if the ventilation, insulation, and vapor barriers are not properly maintained or installed. This can cause water, moisture, mold, and mildew to accumulate inside your attic. Number 7, rotting wood. The inspector will look around the house at door frames, window frames, decks, the moldings of your property, meaning the trim, the siding, fences, anything made of wood. Look for rotting wood, especially if the paint is freshly, if the wood is freshly painted. This could be indicative of a seller trying to hide rotting wood. So be conscious of that. And if you do have severe rotting wood, it'd be a good idea to replace it. Number 8, masonry work. Now, rebricking a property can be very expensive, but if left unattended to, it could cause water infiltration in the property and cause even more damage, including the replacement of the brick. So if you do have any brick that is neglected or is due to be changed, it would be a good idea to consider the cost of changing it versus what a buyer could potentially negotiate against you. Number 9, unsafe overfused circuits. So a fire hazard is created when the amperage is drawn from a circuit more than it is intended to. So the typical circuit would be a 15 amp circuit. However, for larger appliances, there would be larger circuitry for those, but please make sure that you are not over powering one of your circuits. Also, fuse boxes are not acceptable by many inspectors or insurance companies, so you may want to verify if your electricity is a fuse box or if it's a breaker electrical panel. So if you could replace that, it will cost you several $100s to do so. 10, adequate security features. So the inspector will not only be looking at fire hazards, but he'll also be looking at your locks of your windows, your doors, and also to see if your house is equipped with carbon monoxide detectors, gas leak detectors if you have a gas furnace, and smoke detectors. So these things will factor in. So if you don't have these things in your property, it'd be a good idea to purchase them and install them before you put your property in the market and leave them susceptible to scrutiny from an inspector. Number 11, probably the most important feature of your home, is the structural integrity in the foundation. So make sure that you prevent against the inspector criticizing the foundation or structure of your property. A good way to know if there are structural problems with your property is if many doors are not closing properly. Even after you shave them, they reoccur with the same problem of not closing. If you have any diagonal cracks in the frames of your doors, or if there are diagonal cracks in your brick, these can be indicative of constant movement. As well as if you paint a crack and it reappears over and over again, it could mean that something is constantly moving and opening up that crack again. So look at structural integrity of your property, and this could mean a lot of repairs if they're not addressed properly. So there you have it, folks, my 11 inspector traps. These are things that the inspector will look out for, so you best look out for them before he gets a chance to. There are many inspectors that will do a pre-listing inspection of your home. So what that is an inspection of your home before you even put it on the market, to safeguard against another inspector challenging the issues with your property. So I hope you enjoyed this video. If you want more useful real estate information like this, you can check out my Facebook page, Mark Granata Ottawa Realtor. Whether you're from Ottawa or not, there's tons of information there that you could find useful, I'm sure. And if you're on YouTube, you can check out my YouTube channel, which is called Intelligent Homeowner with Mark Granata. And as always, if you have any real estate questions or need great real estate advice, or you just want to say hi, give me a shout. 613-981-9885. Take care. Problems to the water infiltration. So what do you do when you find a couple of your property on the market, and you 15 or 25 years, it may be time to replace that. There is a conscious problem about